The next few videos will introduce you to queries, starting with the text search query. All of the queries in NVivo can be found on the Explore ribbon. Think of queries as questions. They enable you to ask questions of your data. With the text search query, you can find out where particular words, phrases or terms appear within your project. To get started, I've gone to the Explore ribbon and I'm clicking Text Search. Here you'll find a new pane opens and gives us all of the options for this particular query. To start off with, I want to choose where I'm searching. By default, you can see it's going to search all files and externals. In the case of this particular project, I only really want to search the interviews, so I'm going to go to Selected Items. Here I have a choice. I could go to Files, and I could go to Interviews, and I could select the files. In doing so, I would be querying the whole interview, including the words of the researcher and the words of the participants. Quite often this is appropriate, but in this case I really want to focus on the words of the participants, and as such I'm going to search the cases instead. To do so, I click on the plus next to cases, open the people folder, and then I'm going to bring in all the interview participants. In environmental change down east, they're all in this subcase here, so if I click automatically select descendant nodes and then here, it's going to tick all of them for me. Remember, in your own project you may have stored these in a different place, quite often directly in the cases folder. If I click OK, we can now see that this query is targeting just those selected items. The next thing I need to do is type the term that I'm searching for. I'm going to keep this really simple and just search for the word fish. You will notice I have an option of using Boolean logic, enabling me to use wildcards and or not required, prohibit, fuzzy and near operators. If you want more advice on the use of these, visit the Customer Success Centre where you'll find an in-depth description of each. I'm just going to run this query for now before I revisit it and explain some of the additional features. I do this by clicking Run Query. The first thing I see is the summary. This is highlighted by the tab I can see on the right hand side. If I click on References, it's going to order this by references, and as such I can see Robert's case includes the word fish 15 times, Margaret 8 times, and Susan 6 times. You can see the rest of the results further down this table. You'll notice there are other tabs as well. If I click on References, I can now see every single mention of that particular word and the context around it. If I move down, the options will vary depending on where the results have occurred. In this case, I can see the word fish has appeared in both text files and in datasets. I can navigate between these tabs and use the options across the top to see where these results have occurred in those particular files. At the very bottom of the text search query, I can get access to the word tree. Here, the word I have searched appears in the very middle. To the left, I see all of the words that have occurred before it, and to the right, I can see all of the words that have occurred afterwards. If I click on any particular branch, NVivo will show me the path I would need to take through to read this. Using the terms at the top, I can also increase the number of context words that appear or decrease it. This can be quite a lovely visualization for your research. If you do want to use this, you can right click and copy it to paste it into a memo, or you can export this word tree and you will get the option to save it as a JPEG, bitmap or GIF file. Let's return to the query criteria because there's some additional options here that we could use. First of all, you'll notice there's this contextual slider here. This enables us to use a fuzzy dictionary to expand our search further. This time, if I stretch this down to stemmed words, it will look for the word fish as well as stems of the word fish. I'm going to return to summary and rerun this query, and you'll see this time those references have really increased. Now Robert's interview has 25 references and Margaret's 21. If we move to references, we can see why. Stems of the word fish are now here. This includes fishing, fished, fisherman, and so on. If I move to the word tree, this looks the same, but if I return to the ribbon at the top, you'll notice I have the option of switching the root term. If I go for fishing, for example, you'll see this looks very different, and here we can see there's quite an interesting sub-branch. Commercial fishing appears to be quite a theme. I might want to look into this in more detail. If I want to look at any of these in more detail, I can of course double click, and this will perform a search just for that one phrase. I can then of course open it up and look at it in its general context. If I return to this text search query, you'll see there are some additional options within it. They're going to be covered in the next video, and it's a really important one for you to look at. A lot of the features like saving results and adding it to project actually work for multiple queries, so we'll only cover them once. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video.